The Regent Honeyeater is among the rarest birds found in Australia. However, they used to be a staple in the Australian bush. So what caused this bird to become so endangered, and what can we do to help? Well, first, what is the Regent Honeyeater? It's a beautiful bird that is well known for its striking yellow and black plumage. The Regent Honeyeater is a nectarivorous bird, meaning its primary source of food is nectar from flowers. It favors tree flowers, namely varieties of eucalyptus. These days, you can find the Regent Honeyeater in New South Wales and Victoria. However, they once stretched from Adelaide all the way to Brisbane. The bird is a nomadic creature, meaning it never stays in one place for too long and will follow flower blooming patterns to ensure it always has a source of food. Another food source is small insects, and this is especially important during the breeding season to add some protein to the diet. Because of its nectar diet, it's also known to be a key pollinator for the eucalyptus trees it eats from. But why has the Regent Honeyeater's population diminished to the point of being critically endangered? Well, the primary instigator has been land development, including agriculture and housing. This has caused habitats to become fragmented, meaning large areas of habitats have split into multiple smaller areas. This in turn has impacted the noisy miner most notably, as they thrive in fragmented areas and have been facing overpopulation. These factors have impacted the Regent Honeyeater in numerous ways. Noisy miners are often in direct competition with Regent Honeyeaters, but the noisy miner is sedentary, not nomadic. They often lay claim to lands and its resources early. This means that when the Regent Honeyeater follows its nomadic cycle and arrives, it has limited space to nest and may struggle to find food sources consistently. This severely impacts breeding success and can make it harder for the Regent Honeyeater to survive at all. So now we know why and how the Regent Honeyeater is so heavily impacted by this changing landscape. But what are the current and future implications? First and foremost, Regent Honeyeater populations are down to just 200 to 400 adults, making them a critically endangered species. Furthermore, on their current path, they will likely become extinct within 20 years. But the loss of the Regent Honeyeater would impact the rest of the ecosystem too. Noisy miners would lose their main competitors and face further overpopulation. Bug populations will also increase as they lose a predator in their food chain. The Regent Honeyeater is also prey to other species, such as possums and ravens, and will likely have to rely on other species as food more to fill the gap in their food chain. Finally, the eucalyptus trees the Regent Honeyeater feeds from loses a key pollinator, which may impact their numbers as well, even while they face land development practices threatening their population. But what efforts are already being made to revitalize the species? Well, organizations like the Taronga Conservation Society have employed captive breeding and release programs. Government projects are also working in habitat restoration and will plant and revegetate areas to combat land clearing and provide homes for wildlife. BirdLife Australia also works to monitor and control noisy miners and advocates for dense vegetation planting to increase opportunities for other species to be nurtured. However, these current efforts still aren't enough, and the Regent Honeyeater is predicted to be extinct within 20 years if current efforts are maintained. So, in light of that, what can we do as individuals and as a community to revive this species? The biggest and easiest thing you can do is if you find a Regent Honeyeater, immediately call BirdLife Australia and notify them of the sighting. Another simple way to contribute is by donating to organisations who are actively trying to restore the species, like Taronga Conservation Society or BirdLife Australia. In many cases, you can specify what you want your money to contribute to, and they will make sure that it's used for that purpose. Finally, you can volunteer for programs such as revegetation efforts. Revegetation will not only help the Regent Honeyeater, but will also help many other species who call the Regent Honeyeater's habitat home. And you can become part of a community with a joint desire to see the species revitalised within the Australian bush. Through these efforts by individuals, communities, and organisations, we can support the Regent Honeyeater to soar through these forests once again.